I compete for children who don't have enough food to eat. Following her convincing victory over Alina Sharaeva on January 26, 2026.
Since the video you shared is fully wrapped in narration, without any real interview clips or authentic voices from Alex Eala or anyone else, the story flows uninterrupted. Following your guidance to mark breaks with stars where original footage might appear, here is the narration script exactly as it stands from the transcript. I fight for kids who go to bed hungry every night. After her dazzling win over Alina Sharaeva on January 26, 2026, 8 Seconds revealed the secret $87,000 gift that proves Alex Eala is tennis's ultimate sweetheart. Welcome back to Court Eva Tennis, the one channel dishing out the hottest tennis news, the juiciest behind-the-scenes drama, and the most spine-tingling, heart-stopping, goosebump-inducing tales that mainstream sports media won't dare touch. I mean the kind of stories that make you slam your hand on the table and shout, "Wait, what?" And today's story is exactly that. So do yourself a favor, get cozy, pour your favorite drink, maybe even have a box of tissues ready, because what you're about to hear will shatter you in the most beautiful way. In a world of professional tennis flooded with headlines about smashed rackets, shouting matches with chair umpires, scandalous rivalries, 9-figure endorsement deals, and stars living in bubbles of unimaginable luxury, so far removed from ordinary life they might as well be on another planet, it's breathtakingly rare to stumble upon a story like this. One that slices through the noise, the glitter, the manufactured drama and lands squarely in your chest with something so pure, so raw, so deeply human that it almost feels unreal. Today, we're diving into Alexandria, the Philippines' crown jewel, the teenage prodigy who has mesmerized the entire tennis world. You know her name. You've seen the highlights. You've felt the sting of that ferocious forehand. Alex Eala explodes off the strings like a cannon roaring to life. You've flipped through the record books and seen her name immortalized as the first Filipino ever to seize a junior Grand Slam singles title. You've watched her lift the Philippine flag, tears cascading down her face, carrying the weight of an entire nation's dreams on those young, unstoppable shoulders. But what you're about to uncover today has nothing to do with her ranking, her serve speed, her stamina, or her packed tournament calendar. This story is about her heart, about who Alexandria really is when the stadium lights dim, when the cameras stop clicking, and when no one is watching. It's in those silent, unscripted, utterly private moments that the true essence of a person shines through. And what we've revealed about this young woman will forever change the way you see her. Everything. Without knowing where Alexandria came from, you can't fully grasp the magnitude of what she's achieved. Before the sponsorships, before the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, before the international headlines, WTA points, magazine covers, endorsement deals, and all the fanfare, there was just a little girl from the Philippines with a fire in her soul. Alexandria's dream consumed her entirely, a blazing flame that demanded everything she and her family could give. And in professional tennis, dreams carry a price tag that can make your jaw drop. This isn't tossing a soccer ball around in the park. Tennis is famously almost brutally expensive. Court rentals stack up hour by hour. Elite coaching costs more per session than many families spend on groceries in an entire week. International tournaments add flights, hotels, meals, and the hassle of shipping equipment across countries countless times a year. And then there's the gear, rackets, strings, shoes that wear out in months, specialized training tools, physiotherapy, sports psychology, nutrition planning, the list never ends. Merciless to anyone without deep pockets. The Eala family poured every sacrifice, every peso, every ounce of energy into nurturing what was unmistakably a once-in-a-generation talent. But dreams often clash with harsh reality. There came a stretch of truly dark, desperate days when the numbers refused to add up, no matter how ingeniously they were stretched, and the dream began to feel less like a distant horizon and more like a cliff ready to swallow them whole. These are the moments that shatter most families, the moments that close most stories before they even start. And yet, something extraordinary unfolded for the Eala family. Just when they teetered on the edge in the heart of their toughest chapter, a small, but at that exact moment completely unassuming, quietly remarkable tennis academy stepped in. Not a corporate sponsor with contracts full of fine print. Not a government program with a 7-step application and a 3-year waiting list. But a small, passionate, community-rooted academy that saw something shimmering in a young girl's eyes. A spark, a determination, a raw electric talent that begged to be nurtured instead of fading away. They opened their doors, offering court time, support, and a lifeline to a family running dangerously low on both. They did it quietly, without cameras or press releases, simply because it was the right thing to do, and because deep down they knew turning their backs on Alexandria Eala in that moment would have been a disservice to the sport itself. Economy class flights across countries, heartbreaking early exits, lonely nights in unfamiliar hotel rooms, injuries, setbacks, and crushing defeats that make you question everything, along with the countless other struggles that live between a child's dream and an adult's reality. Now fast forward to today, and this is where the story takes a turn that will completely leave you speechless. At this exact moment in her career, when the world is watching, endorsement deals are flowing in, and the future feels almost dazzlingly bright, Alex made a quiet, deeply personal, completely unannounced choice. She turned back instead of forward, returning to her roots without a press release, a social media teaser, or any carefully crafted post meant to capture attention. She simply walked back through the doors of the small, humble academy that once stood by her family when almost no one else did, offering more than just a simple gesture of thanks. She gave $87,000, a sum that, for a grassroots community tennis facility, is nothing short of life-changing. After her commanding victory over Alina Shah on January 26, 2026, this wasn't just a check to frame on a wall between faded photos and old tournament brackets. It means courts restored so they no longer threaten injuries, new nets, proper lighting for late evening training, upgraded ball machines, fresh equipment, and renewed facilities that finally feel like a place where champions are born. It means genuine, life-changing scholarships for the next wave of gifted kids standing exactly where a young Alexandra once stood, peering through a chain-link fence and wondering if chasing their dreams was ever possible. $87,000 can meet a struggling family's eyes and say, "Your child's talent matters and we will help it grow. Come in. You belong here." Yet as powerful as that $87,000 gift was, it wasn't the moment that truly moved everyone who heard the story. The real weight, the real beauty, lived in the message that came with it. Alexandra Eala, a young woman who could have written a polished, media-ready statement about giving back or shaping the future of Filipino tennis, instead chose something disarmingly simple, raw, and deeply honest, just 10 words. "They were there for my family when we had nothing. Gratitude and grace." Alex didn't just thank an academy or settle a financial debt. She reached back into her family's most fragile, uncertain chapter, speaking it aloud without shame or embellishment. She admitted plainly that this incredible journey almost never happened, and she honored those who stood by them through it all, not the major sponsors or official programs, but the people who truly mattered. She proved to them that effort, loyalty, and holding on to your roots still matter. And when the story hit social media, the response was explosive. A supernova of feeling. A tennis community often viewed as distant, cliquish, and fixated on rankings and numbers was suddenly brought together by something far more powerful. A story of humility, gratitude, and humanity that broke through everything else. Human souls behind the numbers suddenly overflowed with warmth. Fans from the Philippines sparked an outpouring of national pride so unemotional that it reached far beyond sport. They were far from alone. Tennis lovers across the world, many of whom had barely heard Alexandra Eala's name before, began sharing her story, defending her character, and embracing her as a new favorite, not because of her performance on the court, but because of the compassion she showed beyond it. Message boards once packed with intense debates about GOAT discussions and Grand Slam records shifted into spaces of simple, heartfelt recognition. This is a kind person. And in a world that often feels lacking in real goodness, that feeling carried remarkable weight. Even fellow athletes, usually doubtful of carefully staged acts of charity, took notice. They recognized the difference instantly. This was not staged philanthropy or a headline-driven gesture, but something deeply sincere. Level of emotional awareness and maturity that is rare for someone in her early 20s, standing at the start of what promises to be a long and successful career. This is exactly the phase in a young athlete's career when the pull to focus entirely on oneself on rankings, wealth, personal brand, social media presence, and image is at its strongest. Sells, drama sells, and spectacle sells. Yet, here is Alexandra Eala at that very moment choosing the opposite direction. Instead of looking ahead to elevate her own success, she reached back, giving away a meaningful sum to a small academy, writing humble and deeply personal words about what others once did for her family, and quietly stepping away from the spotlight. She chose the right thing, not for recognition or virality, but simply because it was right. That is more than admirable. It is rare, and it speaks to a kind of spirit that cannot be created or copied. It either lives within you or it doesn't. And in Alex, it lives in abundance. For the coaches and staff at the academy, people who have spent years in the often thankless grind of shaping young players, her visit became one of the most meaningful moments of their entire lives. Not the wins, not the trophies, but this quiet day when a star returned home and shared gratitude in the most sincere and generous way imaginable, who watched in wonder as she stepped through the same doors. It becomes something even deeper, a living reminder that greatness can rise from where they stand. That the same courts, the same struggles, and the same humble beginnings can one day lead to something extraordinary. She faced financial pressure, fought impossible odds, and still found a path through, and then chose to come back. A child's sense of possibility to witness someone from the same place with the same struggles rise to the very top and never forget where they came from. The story of Alex Eala's $87,000 quiet donation is at its heart a story about loyalty. Deep, unshakable loyalty that does not fade with success, wealth, or fame. It is the kind of loyalty that looks back through time, through distance, and through the vast transformation between who you once were and who you have become, and still says, "It matters. You matter. I remember." In the world of professional sports, that kind of loyalty is rare and deeply beautiful. And in Alex, it feels not like a polished image, but a deeply rooted part of who she truly is. The tennis world will have the privilege of watching her journey unfold over the next decade or more. In the story, then, we are witnessing more than the rise of a champion, we are witnessing the arrival of a true icon. The kind who rises beyond the sport, who represents something greater than rankings or trophies, and who speaks to universal human values that last far beyond the game itself. Circumstances, lifted by a community when she needed it most, has risen to the global stage through talent, resilience, and heart. And in doing so, she has become a symbol of what is possible when success is matched with gratitude. Through sacrifice and resilience, she has shown the world exactly the kind of champion she chooses to be. And it stretches far beyond what unfolds on the court. Alex Eala is not only remarkable in her skill, but extraordinary in her humanity, radiant in her humility, and steadfast in her gratitude. Tennis is undeniably richer because she is part of it. And the Philippines pulses with pride and inspiration because of her journey. Stories like hers remind us that the true heart of sport lies not just in victories, but in character, in compassion, and in the ripple effect one person can create for countless others. Consider this: did her quiet yet powerful act of generosity move you? Did those 10 simple words linger long after you read them? And as her journey unfolds, how far do you imagine she can go? Could she break into the top 50 of the WTA rankings this year, or soar even higher? One thing is clear. What we are witnessing is not just the ascent of a phenomenal athlete, but the unfolding legacy of someone redefining what it truly means to be a champion. Has someone ever shown up for you the way that Academy showed up for the Eala family? And have you found a heartfelt way to say thank you? Share everything you're feeling, thinking, and predicting below, because this is a conversation worth having out loud, and every voice counts. I genuinely read every comment, and I cannot wait to hear what this community has to say about one of the most powerful and heartfelt stories we've ever shared. Has someone ever shown up for you the way that Academy showed up for the Eala family? And have you ever found a truly meaningful way to say thank you? Share everything you're feeling, thinking, and imagining below, because this is a conversation worth having out loud, and every voice matters. I genuinely read every comment, and I cannot wait to hear what this community has to say about one of the most powerful and heartfelt stories we've ever shared. Small gestures may seem minor, but they truly make a difference. And if you're not yet part of the Court Eva Tennis family, make sure to subscribe, because this is where the real stories live, the human stories behind the athletes. Where tennis becomes more than a sport, where it reflects what is possible when talent meets character and success meets generosity. There are more stories ahead that will inspire just as deeply. Until next time, keep your strings tight, your hearts open, and never forget the people who stood by you when you had nothing. Eat for children who don't have enough to eat. Following her commanding victory over Alex Eala on January 26, 2026.
Eat for children who don't have enough food to eat. Following her convincing victory over Alex Eala on January 26, 2026,